haven't got. Morning, Bill.
Morning.
How are you, Bill?
Okay.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Okay.
Good old bridge. A couple of days ago, we got a message saying the bridge will be closed indefinitely.
Yes, we saw that too. Yeah.
The swing mechanism had a problem.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's going on again. I don't know.
Uh, I don't know. I hope when they um, get done that it all works well. But I suppose I shouldn't hold my breath, should I?
Well, it's interesting. That's one major construction project that seems to be going by fits and starts, but the roundabout is proceeding very quickly.
Uh-huh. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We've been avoiding it.
Yeah.
It is time. We all together,
Yep.
more or less.
Hopefully.
Seems to me you may have to replace that laptop.
Oh, I definitely do. It's not really functional for much of anything. It took me almost an hour to get this set up right now this morning
That's a
to a point where it can work. So
waste of
it's
time.
old. It's like 7 years old, and it's something happened to the processor, or I don't know. But I definitely need to replace it.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Well, that's a good start.
Yep.
So, questions? How's your energy moving in and out? Is it moving in and out?
I mean, I'm at about the same level. I don't know that I've made any noticeable progress this week, to be honest. But last class I did make a little bit of progress, so that was good.
Good. Um, I realized in watching last week's video um, that I hadn't really emphasized that when you get into the form, that circularity of the elbow also continues, not just everything else. Um, and it's of course very small in many cases. So just being aware of that, because that can really help open up that link between, if you can, really getting the energy through the elbow and back to the scapula, kind of a critical section. And
Mm.
you have to make sure that you're keeping the shoulders relaxed and down. That's one of the reasons why we talk so often about keeping the elbows pointing to the earth when possible. Um, it just allows the shoulders to drop and relax. Bill?
Uh, not a very productive week. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the vertigo is back, and
Ah,
uh, I just I'm not at you know quite 100%. It's very difficult to describe. Not really dizzy, but feeling like I might be at any point.
yeah,
um,
that's disconcerting to say the least.
yeah. So uh, before it had been just when I was lying down and getting up. This bout seems to come and go at any point. So
Hmm.
Mm.
I've been to doctors and things, and we'll see. I have more tests scheduled in a couple of weeks to see whether it's an inner ear problem.
Uh-huh.
So at any rate, uh,
It's
not
limited.
it's limited, yes, and that's disconcerting too,
Yeah.
because I thought I was making some progress, and this week
Yeah.
not much happened. So
Okay. Well, um, we have to deal with where we are.
yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm struggling to rebuild the energy on my right side. So, well, I'll let you know that nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's do with the 8 gates, trying to keep that circularity of the elbow going and relaxing the shoulders and um, allowing the energy to flow in and out. And I think I've mentioned this, but I'll say it again that you may not feel it this way initially, but eventually you want to feel it coming in the inside and going out the yang. This is also true in the legs, so coming in the inside of the leg and going down from the hip to down the outside of the leg when it's going out. So just just opening to that and being aware that all the pieces eventually need to match. They all need to work together. We work on a lot of separate pieces, and it's only through practice that you can get them to coordinate with each other and begin to allow that energy to move the way you'd like it to move. It's obviously moving, or you wouldn't be here.
Right.
So it's not that your energy isn't moving and functioning. Um, it just could be doing better. And your awareness of it can improve. So,
David, are you able to, in this practice, when you do it, are you able to feel consistently the energy moving up the inside of the arms and the legs and out the outside?
yes,
Huh.
but it took me a long time to get there. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not I'm not saying that, a week's practice did it. No,
right.
it, it for one thing, my first teacher never talked about that kind of thing, really. And while I
Right.
learned a lot from my first teacher, it I didn't learn anything about that. And then that was not something that Master Joe talked about right away. He did um, after I'd been studying with him for a little while, and then of course Jay talked about it um, in Master Joe's terms, which are different really than um, the terms that um, Bruce uses, but they're all talking about the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, but it as you're feeling, you feel a little bit here or a little bit there, and they're
Right.
easy parts of it, and then gradually you can get it to work on through. And that's one of the things to be aware of with all of this is that um, it's great that you're feeling it in the hands and the wrist. That's through the fingers and the hands and the wrist. That's a great start. Um, and then you just have to open to allowing it to continue on through the elbow and the shoulder and the scapula and spine, because eventually we really want to feel it how it's moving up and down the spine. But of course that's in what Bill is trying to work on in God's. Um,
Right.
so, um, but but simply getting the feeling in the arms through the spine is a big step. Um,
Mm.
the legs are more difficult. You've probably discovered that in almost every element. The legs are more difficult. Um,
Yes.
feeling the energy moving through the legs because the legs have more weight on them than the arms do. Um, and we tend to tense them up more, and it takes us a while to learn how we can relax the legs and allow that energy to move through there. Um, so, um, let's do the 8 gates
Yeah.
and try to bring as much of these pieces in as you can. So simply beginning here with allowing the energy to come in and then go out. So really bringing your mind intent to focus on that. Extend your mind through your body so that you can feel the energy movement. And stepping out, the energy comes in. So out. And then continues in and out as you just stand. So finding your structure, connecting down to the earth, and up to the heavens. And then when you're ready to begin the 8 gates, in and out, bending in, extending out, twisting in, twisting out, lengthening in, lengthening out, energy coming in and out, energy in, energy going out. Keep that circularity of the elbows going. Twisting in, twisting out, lengthening in, lengthening out, energy in, energy out, bending in, bending out, twisting in, twisting out, lengthening in, lengthening out, energy in, and out. Bend, twist, lengthen energy in and then out. All four coordinated and moving. Energy in, energy out. Pressure towards the toes, pressure towards the heel, toe, heel. In, out, in, out. Elbows circling in, circling out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In. So questions?
As you are circling your elbows in this, what are your scapula doing?
They're going in and out.
What is our goal here?
Well, when your elbows come in, your scapula go in. When your elbows go out, your scapula go out.
But you're not trying to also get a circular movement in your scapula so much. They're just sort of in and out.
And at the moment, no, you're probably not. However, a circular movement of the scapula is possible.
Well, that's why I was asking what you personally are doing, because you're obviously way farther advanced than we are. Are you at a point where you're doing circularity with your scapula or feeling it in any degree?
I would say I'm working on that.
Okay.
That I am. I'm clearly able to feel my scapula. I can feel them. I can feel them moving. Um, Also away from the ribs and toward the ribs, which is
Yeah.
another principal movement of the scapula. Um, the circularity of it, I wouldn't say is, for me, is not yet completely clear. That's certainly something I'm working on.
Hmm. Okay. I just like to have somewhat of a roadmap as far as like much further down the road. Not that I would try and do that now. I'm just curious.
Yeah, you don't want to try and do that now. Um, but that awareness of getting the elbow to come in and out in that circular movement is really important.
Yeah.
And it's relaxed. It's not, it's not, you're not tensing it in and out and forcing it with the muscles. Um, it, it's like it's like the rest of it. It's
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what to say except that it's not a tense, primarily
Right.
muscular driven movement. It's an energy
Right. Well,
driven movement.
I mean, I find that some of the postures and positions are much easier to do that in, when the elbows are naturally kind of pointing down, it's much easier than when we're doing it with our hands further down than the elbows and we're trying to do.
Yeah,
So there is a disparity with me as far as how much I'm feeling and succeeding based on each posture.
yeah. So you might this week really think about that as you do the eight gates and um,
Right.
be aware of what postures you might need that I might be able to give you a little more specificity about.
Right. Okay.
Um, because it's not a it's an important element. And I
Yeah.
do you find it difficult to circle the elbows?
In some of the postures, a little bit, yeah. I mean, like when we're as far as circling them, trying to keep a connection with feeling them down and not coming up, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Not
Yep.
shrugging my shoulders, cutting off my scapula, trying to keep all that in mind. And some of the ones where a couple where the hands are, sorry about the way hands kind of adjust. Where we're down here and trying to do it is a little more difficult for me to do and keep everything moving as it is, not cutting off the elbow, not cutting off the armpits, keeping the
Yeah.
scapula relaxed, all that.
Yep. You know, I have to say, I think some of the issues are because you're not in person, and
Yeah,
you can't see me as clearly on Zoom as you can in person, and nor can I um, take a hold of your elbows and move them the way they
right.
need to
Yeah,
move. So that's that is kind of an issue when you're working
right,
on Zoom.
right.
The
Well, I plan on being there the week of the 24th, whatever that Tuesday is. So
24th of October.
uh, October, yeah,
Okay. Oh, good.
Halloween week, whatever that Tuesday is, Halloween week,
Does that
28th,
mean we have
29th.
to come in costume?
I'll come as a Tai Chi player.
Good. Anything for you, Bill, in that?
No, I certainly second Jeff's request to go over the elbow movements. I find myself sometimes moving them, but maybe not with as much purpose as I should. Um, Sometimes I've for some reason or other, they're going one way, and the next time they'll be going the other way. I mean, making a circle this way as opposed to uh, that
So,
way.
Yeah,
I think I get the movement, but it's
mhm.
it, I would say it's also similar with to the scapula, which I do feel, um, but it is not consistently directly connected to what's going on.
Hmm. Okay. Well, there's that elbow movement. um, one of the things to remember in this particular practice, it's not true in the form, is that with the exception of the transition from Qian to Kun, all the movements are little finger in and little finger out, edge of the arm and hand. Only the transition from heaven to earth is thumb in and thumb out. So that remembering that your elbow is connected to the rest of your arm, uh, it only, if you're doing that, it's only going to circle in one way. Okay,
Okay.
so it's while I highly recommend that um, dragon and tiger movement to practice to get that. Um, One of the things there is that the in movement is thumb in and thumb out. So it's a different. You're using a different edge of the arm leading, but the intention of the movement is the same.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say also, in all honesty, when the elbow movement, I still think some percentage of time on a horizontal plane.
hmm.
And I understand that that's not the idea.
No, and part of that is because um, the the bending and twisting are circular.
Yeah.
So the elbow movements are going to be circular if you connect them. Um, it's if you allow the twisting and bending to be straight, then um, that's what's going to happen at the elbow too.
Yeah.
And you may have some movement of the scapula in response to that, but it's not the same. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
That connects with what I was saying about consistency.
yeah,
Sometimes I feel that it is there and then it gets lost.
yeah. And that's how it is with practice. That's why that's why one needs to practice. Because if you could just come in and take the classes and do it perfectly, you
Huh,
would
yeah.
great. But nobody is able to do that. It's easier for some people than others, but nobody does that. Um, there's just too much to it. So, um, in going, any other questions about the eight gates while we're there? Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. Yep.
Um, if you remember any of the eight gates training, Master Joe's eight gates training, that's working through some of that is can be really helpful, and also um, Master Joe pointed out to us that in developing the circularity and sphericalness of the movement, how important Chansagen is, and that there are, I think he was inclined to say there are 100 ways to do it. Um, there are many different variations. Um, we tend to fall into just doing the basic dynamic sphere because that's easy. Um, but there are a lot of other variations, which I, I have been teaching in the Eight Gates class, but they can be helpful in getting some of this sense of circularity in different positions, but doing a familiar movement, and then it, to some extent at least, it becomes easier to take it into the form. Um, so there's there's just too much. um, so speaking of the form, we looked at um, the in and out flow of the energy just up through a single whip last week. So what I'd like you to do is to just do that flow, and I want you to say in and out as you do it. And we're going to have each one of you do that, um, just to make sure you're clear about what you're doing. Okay?
Okay.
Um, and looking at last week's video, let me say, I saw one other thing, Jeff. Remember that in the transition from left side grasping sparrow's tail to right, the arms do not need to drop to the groin. They
Yeah,
can.
actually, you did mention that last class too, so I kept that in mind this week.
Oh, okay, good. I
Yeah, no,
just.
you kept. I'm keeping them like lower to mid Dantian height in that range.
Yeah, good.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
that
no,
was my adjustment this week.
no, Lord. They do need to sink a little, but they don't have to sink a
Right.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was thinking them way too much because on the first on grasping sparrows tail to the left, we bring them up from very low, and I was bringing them all the way back down from low.
Yeah. And one of the
So
things to remember there too is that as you're stepping out, that's beginning to lift those arms. They're not, um, the lifting of the arms doesn't wait until you've made the step. They
okay,
that the process of making the step also is beginning to lift the arms.
okay.
So, um, it seems to me Jeff always goes first, so I'm going to ask Bill to go first today.
Okay.
If you are able.
Yep.
Okay.
If I disappear from the screen, I've fallen over.
Please don't.
Out, in, out, in, out, in, out, out, in, out, in, O, U, O, O, U, O.
Okay. So um, basically, I seems to be you have the what you'd like to be doing.
Yes.
Uh, it struck me that concentrating on that seemed to um, interfere with your flow.
Yes.
So um, that's another piece of the practice is just getting to where, and you can say that to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud usually,
Hmm.
um, but sometimes that can be a help
Yep.
in just identifying that. Um, and I noticed that where you where you lost a couple of ins on to the left, you
Yep.
brought them in on the right, so that was
Yep.
fine. Uh, so um,
I was doing them. I forgot to say them.
yeah, yeah. So I um, I still feel that you're for some reason having difficulty with the movement, the transition into single whip.
Okay.
Um, so maybe
Uh,
just wait, what? Just just to review that, would you go to focus the end of on the right? Just go to focus and then just go into single whip.
okay.
You don't have to say in and out this time. Yeah, so it's a matter of timing. Um, I mean, you have all the pieces there. Um, let me just. Let me see if I can do what you were doing. Um, so I did feel that you were getting this part of the movement, but then it seemed to me you were going like this here, and it doesn't need to be that as that emphasized. So you come in, and really this is a rotation. You're twisting out, you're lengthening out, you're bending out, but it's not out here. It's here.
Yeah.
And at this moment, you're 100% on the right foot.
Wait. Yeah.
And the in is only in the step. And this is still empty at that point.
Yeah.
That's the whole in. It's like the in going into G. Uh, and then all of this is the out movement. So that's the whole, you're moving into that.
Okay.
What what you are tending to do there is to be here and then move your arms.
Okay.
Um, Perhaps some movement of the body, but not. So the big piece is to get to 100% here, so that the rotation of the step is what comes in, and then you can go out.
Okay. Understood. Um, when you are to the right, the movement that you say I'm exaggerating too much, is that an on movement? Pushing down?
Oh, no, well, no, well, it could be. That's one of those movements where it would probably depend on uh, what the situation was when we think about it in terms of application, but um, it could just be a G,
Okay.
I mean a pung.
Yep.
It could be an on, in which case it um, that's going to be a little different. I tend to do it just as a pung,
Okay.
um, but it could be on. I mean, if you wanted to work on that, but in that case, you're going to be in, in, out. It's going to be a longer in and a shorter out at the end of that. The timing would end up different than pung.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, was that too much information?
No, no. Well, because my movement out that way was uh, obviously way too complicated, as well as wrong.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I recognize that I was not staying on my right 100%
Yeah.
going in. I mean, I can, when I was, while you were talking, I was practicing here and I could feel myself moving to the left way before I should have been.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You want to try it, Jeff?
Yeah. In, out. 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 In, out.
Hmm. Okay. So, I think I still feel like probably your hands are going a little lower than they need to between left and right. And also, you may be stepping a little longer than you need to um,
Okay.
going into those postures. Um, it That's one of the differences between this form and the yang is that the steps are not long, they're not big, uh,
Okay.
and so it's all much smaller ultimately. Um,
Okay.
um, you you have the awareness of where you want the energy to go in and out. I think clear. That seemed fine. Um,
Right.
it as with Bill, having to say those words obviously interrupted your flow. Uh,
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it went reasonably well. So,
Right.
do you have any questions in there?
I mean, just at the beginning, before movement actually,
Mm-hmm.
um, just the in and the out. I mean, how much do you do in and out, you personally? I know Bill did it like 3 or 4 times, and I usually only kind of think of it like once, and then I get going.
Um,
Does it
that's
matter?
um, does it matter? Yes, I think it matters. Um,
Okay.
excuse me, there we go. Um, there, there, are- there are really two things involved there at the beginning. One is learning to allow yourself to stand until you become as still and quiet as possible. And then you begin primarily through mind intent, not muscular movement, to
Right.
initiate the in and out movement of the energy.
Is that the moment of Wuji to Taiji? That
Yes.
moment?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And how many of those you do, that that's entirely up to you. Um, you do as many as you need to clearly feel the energy moving and you feel like you're ready to use it to go on into the form.
Right. Okay. Well, I think in my case, I never get as close to Wuji as I would like to. I always move much too soon. I think just to try and make the most of my practice time just
Yep.
mentally. But that's a good reminder from you. I'm glad I asked the question. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, that's something we all tend to do. I mean, we our schedules are busy. We've got a lot of things to do, and um,
Right.
we want to practice, but uh, we rush. Um, and so it's really, as a matter of fact, I wish several years ago when the Master Joe Festival was still going, uh,
Right.
Stephen Watson did a really incredible workshop on arriving at Wuji.
Huh.
And I asked, it was being recorded by somebody for him, and I asked him to share that with me, and he never did. Um,
Uh,
and I think he was just reluctant to do it. I don't know why. I guess I'm not really one of his students,
right.
although we've been friends for years. Um,
Right.
but the point was that um, depending on what your life is like, um, how long it takes you to arrive at Wu Ji can vary hugely, and it will vary from day to day. And um, sometimes it sometimes it takes a long time. You need to stand for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you just once in a while, when you have the opportunity to do that, give yourself give yourself permission to do that.
Right.
Um, that's a really that it will give you a different feeling about what you are doing and how you're doing it. It will
Mhm.
change your form.
Yeah, no, as we discuss this, I'm remembering back to that period of time when I was in Connecticut and, I was in there in classes with you 2 or 3 times every week and probably another time practicing myself with the weapons and all. And I was doing that on a fairly regular basis. I would take 3, 4, 5 minutes before I would start anything and I would get much closer to that nice Wuji place. And now my life is very different and very much more hectic and
Yep.
scattered and chaotic. And ironically, that's when I need it more is now, but I'm just, I don't make the time for it now. But I'm glad I brought this up because it is a nice reminder of something I haven't thought about for a while.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone, Jeff. Many,
But,
many, many people are dealing with that too.
yeah.
um, anything for you, Bill?
Uh,
Since we're
oh,
in the
I
talking mode
just
here.
no, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
But that is a good point, and that is, Jeff, why I do take as long as I do at the beginning.
Yeah.
Uh, if if I can feel, if I can sense the in and out without saying it,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
then it becomes easier to carry that through. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's taking that time I've always found just it goes through my whole body. It makes me more rooted. It makes me more
yep.
aware of every other part of my body, and it is a much better way to practice. And then just
Yep.
hadn't really thought about it. And then when you started this, took several in and outs, in and outs, in and outs. I was like, oh, I haven't done that in ages.
Well, I've always liked to stand, just
Yeah,
stand. Yeah. That's always been comfortable for me. David may remember in the Nagong classes, everybody would be sitting in a semicircle and I would be off to the side standing, for.
Yeah. You
right.
know, Master Joe used to say that doing 5 or 10 minutes of really focused and present practice was better than an hour of just mechanically going through things.
Hmm.
And there's something to be said for that concept. Now,
Yeah,
5 or 10 minutes is probably not enough time to really do a good practice, but
right.
it's long enough to do something. Uh, and uh, I think it's really worth thinking about really using the time you have and not just, oh, I got to go through this. um, because that's not bad, but it certainly doesn't give you the benefit of the other.
Right. Yeah.
So I was going to keep going with in and out here in the form.
Yep.
So looking at it at the next section, um, if, if I wish they made these little charts larger print, or maybe I should wish I had better eyes. One or the other. So once we get to the end of single whip, of course this is out, and then we have a really kind of interesting in, which is a little difficult to be aware of. And in this case, in this particular case here, as you're going into pull down, the in goes all the way to here. And then as you step back, you're ready to go out. And then in on the rotation, out as you shift back, in as you come onto the left leg and rotate in, and then step, and you're actually starting with in and then out, 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 and again in and out. The questions in there?
You said that you're starting with in even as your hands are moving up your body.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I never did that.
Yeah, the in continues there. So you come in, and then you have an out to the shoulder,
Yeah.
and then in and out, out, out.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Okay.
I mean, you're not going to go out to shoulder and out, out, out. That's going to bring you out there somewhere, and that's one of the difficult.
Yeah, I guess no, I see your point. I guess I always, it was always a steady advancement in the same direction. So I actually did think it was one very long out, and that's why I always had to be, really careful not to shift too quickly because
Yep,
there's a lot of outward movement with very little shifting.
yep, and they're very quick.
Hmm.
Those uh, those those three, because when you get to here, it is just 1, 2, 3, bam.
Right. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not a slow movement.
Right. Okay.
Any questions for you, Bill?
No, not really.
Okay. So
Does not mean that I'll do it perfectly. I just don't have any questions.
I I'm not expecting perfect, but why don't you try that, Bill?
Okay. You want me to talk the way through it?
Um, do it once without talking out loud, and then do it a second time talking out loud.
In, out, in, out, in, out, 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 in, out.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um, so It seems to me that you have a little confusion going into pull down and embrace. Um, so, what again? I think part of the issue has to do with weight shift.
Okay.
Um, so first you have a shift to 100%, and then this part looked pretty good, except this hand also moves. This is um, this is bending in and twisting in and lengthening in. All of those things are going on.
Okay.
So um, when you begin this movement, these are all starting to come in, and they come in further. And then as you step back, the right arm comes up, and notice that everything is rotated in and bent in at that point. So that as you rotate and shift back, that's the out pushing down. So this is going, the hands are not actually moving across my body. They're staying right here, and all they're doing is this. It's the movement
Uh,
of the body,
yeah, I'm not turning my body.
and then picking up the left toe. All you're going to do is rotate, and that's the in, bend and twist in. And then as you shift the weight, you're going to bend and twist out, and you have to be careful not to do too much. Um, it actually doesn't have to be a big movement in this form. Um, and then coming in was pretty good. Um, remember that you have that's a rotation to the left onto the left foot, and then rotate right to step out so that you can rotate again into shoulder. So I think you were losing that movement.
Yeah.
And then as you go into White Goose, this is in, as we were just talking about, but notice that these movements are all quick and close together. They're all 1, 2, 3. They're not, so you want to try to get to the point where this is not 1, 2, 3, because you don't have enough rotation to do that or
Okay.
shift. And then follow and focus, yeah. So it just seems to be a little confusion about the postures in there, and that will make it easier to do the in and out also.
Yes, well, I recognize, when you went through it that for pull down in particular, I was not moving my body, I was swinging my arms.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be a radical change.
I see. Okay. I don't want that. There we go. Okay, Jeff, you want to try this?
Yep. In, in, out, in, out, in, out. In, out. In, out. In,
That's all right.
out.
That was that was pretty good, Jeff. Um,
Good.
I would say, the one thing I felt is going into pull down. That when you make that step, you want to think of bringing the arms up. It's as if um, you have grabbed a wrist and a shoulder or upper arm.
Right.
So I don't think the one hand came high enough to have that um,
Okay.
image, um,
Okay.
uh, because it's the sense that that person is rushing into you, and you're just taking them and letting them go past you,
Right.
guiding them past you.
Is that rollback or on? It must be more rollback, right? Lou?
Actually, no, that would be on.
More on. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Because I know there's downward, but it just feels like it's more rollback, just pushing them off to the side than down.
Well,
But I know it's a combination of both.
rollback um, is you're right, simply guiding them away,
Yeah.
but on is pulling them down, and um, actually this is um, how this is comparable to the postured needle at sea bottom in the Young style.
Yeah. Um,
So it is definitely on.
needle at sea bottom is psi, right?
Well, yes. I mean, if you go beyond the first four,
Yeah.
um, no, you're absolutely correct. And this would also beat psi.
Huh.
Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
but I've been just keeping it to the first four energies at this point. So,
Okay. Gotcha. It is an interesting movement though, because it is all of those three really.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So good. Um, other questions in there?
No.
Well, there's a little bit more to work on.
Yeah.
Any last minute questions for you, Bill?
No, no.
Oh, okay. Um, well, in that case, thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you next week or tomorrow.
Yeah, I will try to make it over there tomorrow.
I
So,
hope you. I hope you can.
yeah.
Are they? What time are they opening? Do you know?
It didn't say. It just said closed until uh the 18th, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. So I will be up early enough to make alternate plan.
The ferry's a nice ride.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, I
All
look
right. Well,
look
have a
forward
good
to
week, you
seeing you.
guys. So
Thanks.
see
You
you next
too.
week.
Take
Yep, you
care.
Take
too.
care.
Bye.
Take care, Bill.
Yep, you too, Fred. Bye, David.
Bye, Bill.